The scene opens with our protagonist, Sangyeon. Breath falters as his ruined body gives in. Decades of endless war have hollowed him out, leaving only scars and exhaustion. At 55, his strength is nearly gone, and the battles have finally broken him. He reflects that his age should have led him to rest, not war. Regret fills him as he questions the meaning of his endless struggle. He comes to a bitter conclusion: his life is a failure. As his despair deepens, demonic beasts crawl from the darkness. Their red eyes burn with malice as their growls fill the silent cave. Sangyeon grips his sword, annoyed. He tells the beasts to give him a break as he prepares to face them. Why is his life a failure, you ask? When he looks at his peers, he sees power forever beyond his reach. In this world, dragons collide with forces that shatter the earth. Others of his generation rose to legend, earning titles like Sword Master and Sword God through overwhelming feats. He alone was ridiculed with names like Sword Geezer and Senile Swordsman. In the end, that mockery defined his entire life. His mind recalls a haunting memory. A girl from his orphanage is seized by an octopus-faced monster, blood covering her as she fights in vain. Young Sangyeon kneels in fear, powerless as the horror unfolds. The orphanage was all he had ever known, the only family he had. Despite her fear, the girl calls his name, urging him to run and not be afraid. Her final cry is silenced as the monster crushes her, ending her life instantly. That day, the monster drops her lifeless body. Young Sangyeon sits frozen amid the ruins of the orphanage. As the monster's clawed hand reaches down for the terrified, crying boy, he can only accept his fate. The people who were his family were all slaughtered. That day became known as the Great Collapse. A red portal ripped open in the sky, unleashing monsters that spread ruin and despair across humanity. Young Sangyeon is seized by the octopus-faced monster, surrounded by grotesque creatures in the ruined city. That single event took away everything he held dear. As the monster opens its terrifying jaw to devour him, Sangyeon can only watch in paralyzed terror. In that moment of despair, the monster holding him is violently obliterated, its body blown to nothingness. A figure descends, the unnamed hero in ornate armor, standing before the terrified young Sangyeon. Sangyeon looks up, his eyes wide with disbelief and awe. At death's doorstep, a savior appears, radiating holy light. The boy, covered in blood and grime, can only sit and stare up at the magnificent warrior who saved him. The hero turns to him and asks if he is all right. A kind smile graces the hero's face, a beacon of hope in the midst of all the destruction. Tears stream down Sangyeon's face as relief floods him. On the day he lost everything, a miracle saved him. The memory of the hero drives him. As an adult, Sangyeon channels all his strength to crush a monster. Since that day, he longed to become like the hero and devoted his life to that goal. He reflects, thinking he gave everything he had. A younger, but still adult, Sangyeon is shown in a desperate struggle, being clawed at by a vicious goblin-like monster. But his battles never eased. Older Sangyeon struggles as a massive armored monster resists his attack. Even though he slayed monsters left and right, a look of profound shock and despair dawns on his face as he comes to a terrible realization. He didn't get any stronger. His life is a string of failures. He kneels on a bloodied battlefield, holding a fallen comrade, proof of his weakness. In the end, he protects no one. He screams in anguish, surrounded by the ruins of his failures. The memory fades. 55-year-old Sangyeon leans on his sword, panting among the monster's corpses, gasping that it's killing him. His hands shake on his sword. He curses his age and weakness. Suddenly, a heavy stomp echoes nearby. He looks up, his exhausted mind struggling to process the sound. A colossal black dragon lands before him, its size and power dwarfing Sangyeon, the kind of foe only true heroes face. Facing the impossible foe, he questions if this is proof of his failure. The dragon doesn't hesitate, unleashing a massive torrent of destructive energy from its mouth, engulfing Sangyeon completely. As his life flashes past, he understands he has nothing. No family, no bonds, no dream left behind. After 55 years of struggle, only regret remains. A tear falls as he smiles bitterly, accepting his life as a failure. With his final breath, he desperately wishes he could turn back time. The skies churn with a mixture of twilight and dawn, a fitting backdrop for a life spent in endless battle. At the end of a grueling battle, a message of victory appears. The Elder Dragon's lair has been conquered, but for the victor, there is no celebration. Only a heavy sigh and a muttered word of exhaustion. He roars in frustration, the cry of a man worn down by decades of struggle. 55. Sangyeon Shin feels he's at his breaking point. He is Sangyeon Shin, a swordsman who has walked a solitary path for 3 long decades. His greatest achievement was barely reaching the top 100 in his country. On the world stage, he was insignificant among countless monsters of power. As despair consumes him, something suddenly draws his attention. From the defeated foe, a rare skill book appears, radiating immense power. Sangyeon contemplates it. His unique ability allows him to devour artifacts, but he has never tried it on a skill book before. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light interrupts his thoughts. A message appears, heralding the arrival of a powerful entity. The constellation, Late Blooming Scholar. From a swirling vortex of energy, his contracted constellation emerges. Sangyeon holds the mysterious skill book, the energy from the constellation's arrival still swirling around it. The scholar offers praise for his hard work and compliments his decisive finishing move. Sangyeon internally identifies the flashy figure as the constellation bound to him by contract. He offers a sheepish thanks, gazing at his constellation with both gratitude and resignation. He feels genuine gratitude that such a being would bond with a self-proclaimed third-rate swordsman. However, the constellation's power comes with a steep price. The ability offers huge bonuses, but only after reaching level 850 and 900. A small, childlike version of the scholar appears, a stark contrast to Sangyeon's current reality. He is only level 650. The constellation's absurdly high requirements have never helped him. Level 850 feels like a cruel joke. Sensing his contractor's despair, the late blooming scholar urges him to try devouring the skill book. Putting on a brave face, Sangyeon agrees, saying he was just about to try it anyway. He steels himself and grabs the skill book, now a brilliant orb. He activates his unique skill, Devour Artifact. It was the only skill he obtained after awakening his powers, and its true nature eluded him for decades. Desperate to understand the skill, he recalls past foolish attempts, even trying to cook priceless artifacts. Thinking he had to literally devour them, he tried everything. But of course, nothing worked. After 30 years of frustration, he finally tries the method he discovered on the skill book. He syncs his mana with the skill book's tier, triggering the Devour Artifact skill. He learned the truth too late. While others mastered skills early, it took him a lifetime to take the first step. He holds the book, but despite his efforts, nothing happens. The attempt fails. Frustrated, Sangyeon gives up as his constellation reveals the skill doesn't work on skill books. The late blooming scholar expresses its regret, admitting it can't be of much help since there's almost no information on a skill like his. The constellation suggests another mana sync attempt, saying there's plenty of time, which enrages Sangyeon. Tears of frustration in his eyes, he roars, "What time do I have?" His rage boils over as he screams that he'll be 60 soon. The little scholar flinches as Sangyeon laments being old enough for a grandpa and how human lives are painfully short. Seeing his despair, the scholar apologizes sincerely, but Sangyeon collapses, insisting it's not the scholar's fault. He confesses that his life is just full of regrets. The scholar looks on, a new understanding dawning in its eyes. He can never forget the hero who saved him, a shining figure in armor. He spent his life trying to become like him, but he's tired, claiming he's just too old now. His final wish lingers, "If only I were younger." The late blooming scholar watches in silence, expression unreadable. And then, behind its reflective glasses, a smile forms. A decision has been made. Unaware of its intent, Sangyeon says he'll retire and end their contract. Strange, beautiful energy begins to swirl from the scholar. Suddenly, the energy erupts. The scholar rises into the air, unleashing a torrent of power that shocks Sangyeon. The overwhelming magic begins to envelop him. His body feels like it's melting as he calls out his constellation's name in confusion. That moment was his last as a 55-year-old. The scholar reveals its true form and unleashes its ultimate ability. Using the very essence it has researched for years, the late blooming scholar initiates a grand and forbidden magic. Time rewind. He snaps awake, realizing he's not on a battlefield but in a bed. In the small apartment he lived in 30 years ago, he sees his hands and body. He is 25 again, but his mind holds the memories of his 55-year-old self. The scene shifts to a television program discussing the nature of the world. Dungeons and Gates. A journalist from the Player Times, Jongmin Park, explains that these are the places where awakened individuals, known as players, can showcase their skills. A guest arrives, Hyunjong Han, CEO of Hyunjong Corporation. She explains that dungeons are the foundation of a player's growth. She explains that gates lead to other dimensions and unknown realms for players to explore and uncover. A confident smile spreads as he polishes a dagger. The old man is gone, replaced by a youth with 30 years of knowledge. I'm really back, he thinks. It's been 4 days since he arrived here. He's still processing it, but one thing is certain. He has traveled back exactly 30 years in time. He reflects on the reason his time was rewound, that he remembers the brilliant, overwhelming magic of his constellation. He concludes there's no other explanation. Mr. Scholar must have performed a miracle for his sake. Wasting no time, Sangyeon sets his sights on his first target, an item he remembers from his past life. The Dagger of Venimos, a lowly bronze artifact. He managed to acquire this bronze-tier dagger shortly after returning to the past. Though its tier is low, his memories reveal a hidden, powerful skill. He prepares to devour it, noting the system's calculation for stat absorption. Because he just got it, the rate is low. He smirks, unconcerned. He isn't after the meager stat boost. What he truly wants is the hidden skill locked inside. He initiates mana sync with the Dagger of Venimos. His consciousness is pulled into a different plane of existence. It is a space in his mind for devouring artifacts. He admits he gets nervous, never knowing the artifact's form. A shimmering dish begins to materialize before him. The absorption of the Dagger of Venimos is ready. He stares, pleasantly surprised, at the dagger's form. Rotisserie barbecue chicken with olive oil. He sighs in relief. It's a normal, appetizing dish, not something horrifying like swampy centipede soup. With a grin, he declares he'd gladly eat something like this. He grabs a piece and takes a bite, beginning the absorption of the Dagger of Venimos. The system announces a small stat increase, +2 to dexterity. And then, the real prize. He has successfully acquired the hidden skill. Demon Bash. Back in the real world, the physical dagger shatters into particles of light. The absorption of the Dagger of Venimos is complete. The artifact dissolves, fading into the eternal abyss. Sangyeon views the system window with satisfaction, regretting the dagger's disappearance, though he'd never use it. Now that I have a usable skill, it's time to move. His destination is Dungeon 85, where Daejeong Yun's party prepares to enter. His first test in this new life begins. At the entrance to dungeon number 85, a man in a worker's uniform, the mule captain, anxiously calls out to his team leader, an imposing player in full plate armor. He reports that one of the porters, a newbie named Sangyeon Shin who joined only 3 days ago, is missing. Daejeong Yun dismisses concern, deciding to include Sangyeon in the main player team. The mule captain is stunned, protesting that Sangyeon is supposed to be a simple porter, not a fighter. Yun arrogantly confirms his approval, while the sweating mule captain objects, noting it's only been days since Sangyeon awakened his powers. He protests that Sangyeon didn't graduate the player academy and it's unfair for a rookie to share the loot. But Yun interrupts. He shouts, "Mr. Mule Captain." Yun steps forward, intimidating him into a stammered apology. Yun leans in, his voice laced with menace, reminding the captain that the party has a performance-based loot split. The terrified man quickly agrees. As the mule captain backs away, Yun watches him with contempt. He scoffs, seeing them as losers obsessed with fairness. His second-in-command asks why he accepted the rookie, curious himself. Yun reveals his cold reasoning. If the rookie dies, they lose nothing. Watching him die will silence the mules for good. They both laugh at the disposable nature of a level 1 player, just as Sangyeon arrives behind them. "Hello everyone. My name is Sangyeon Shin, and I'll be a player starting today." His cheerful introduction is met with cold, hostile glares from the porters. Yoon and his teammate exchange a condescending smirk, amused by the newbie's cluelessness. Sangyeon feigns nervousness, noting sarcastically that their hostility is obvious. Yoon laughs, feigning friendliness. "Sangyeon, right? So good to meet you. I thought you'd be late." His eyes drift to the large weapon on Sangyeon's back. It's a great sword. Feigning a clueless newbie, Sangyeon scratches his head, claiming he watched many MeTube videos on using a greatsword. Yoon notes the greatsword's difficulty, implying Sangyeon is in over his head. Sangyeon mock salutes, cheerfully promising to take care of himself. Yoon laughs and claps Sangyeon on the shoulder, praising his spirit and comparing him to himself. With a rallying cry, he orders the raid to begin. It's showtime. The party files into the glowing blue entrance of the dungeon. As they enter, the other players are already bantering about who will get the most kills. Sangyeon quietly follows into the dungeon depths. Yoon watches, his friendly facade gone. Yoon scoffs internally. Learning through MeTube? Does he think dungeon raids are a joke? Yoon thinks the rookie awakened only days ago and is already arrogant. To him, it looks like Sangyeon is asking for a quick death. Yoon recalls the dungeon's info. It's an orc dungeon, notorious as the wall of instant regret for newbies. Yoon smirks, thinking the rookie will learn the hard way. Sangyeon remains calm as a hulking orc suddenly appears. Yoon's condescending thought is cut short as his eyes widen in utter shock. He stands amid the carnage, unable to process the instant slaughter. Who the hell is this kid? He thinks. Before them stands the next threat, a massive armored orc chieftain, but was brutally finished off. The dismembered head of the Amorade orc chieftain lies at its feet, but Sangyeon stands unfazed, his back to his stunned party members, an aura of power swirling around him as he prepares to face the captain. Orcs appear, hulking green creatures with massive muscular frames. Orcs are common enemies in fantasy worlds, which leads many to underestimate them, a mistake reflected on ruined battlefields. This fatal misunderstanding comes from believing orcs are weak. Compared to monsters like dragons, their crude strength and low intelligence make them seem inferior. This is why overly confident rookie players often make a fatal mistake. A lone, armored player stands bravely before the ominous shadow of an orc, underestimating the danger. They tend to forget the true nature of orcs and charge headfirst into their dens. Just like this reckless rookie, who announces his charge with a confident cry, oblivious to the peril that awaits. His charge is cut short as a massive green hand grabs his face, and his confidence instantly turns to shock. Towering and massively built, an orc lifts a human effortlessly, making the absolute gap in strength undeniable. With a final, brutal crush, the orc's glowing red eyes stare blankly as it ends the player's life. And that is why orcs have earned a chilling nickname among players: the Wall of Instant Regret for newbies. The scene shifts to a new party of players venturing through a dungeon corridor, ready to face the dangers ahead. Daejeong Yoon glances back at Sangyeon and warns that being a rookie will earn him no special treatment. As Sangyeon passes, Yoon scoffs, spits on the ground, and calls him an insolent rookie for acting like a real player so soon after awakening. Sangyeon forces an awkward smile, pretending humility. He promises to try his best, thinking few groups would go easy on him anyway. Another party member shouts, frustrated, asking if Sangyeon thinks his weak attitude and meager skills will get him anywhere. Sangyeon remains silent, his polite smile dropping as he listens to their criticism. Breaking the silence, Sangyeon calmly asks to take point when monsters appear, surprising the confrontational leader. Stunned, Daejeong Yoon stammers, struggling to process the rookie's bold request. Suddenly, their argument is cut short as a massive orc appears. Another party member shouts in fear except Sangyeon. Sangyeon, thrilled for his first battle since the rewind, declares he'll take the lead and reaches for his sword, only for Daejeong Yoon to shove him aside, annoyed by his audacity. Yoon intercepts the charging orc, blocking its powerful swing with his shield. Daejeong Yoon yells at Sangyeon, calling him a moron and asking if he wants to die, berating him for being too slow with a great sword. Unfazed, Sangyeon calmly tells Yoon that he didn't have to help and that he should stop running his mouth and keep his eyes on the front. Enraged, Yoon calls Sangyeon ungrateful for talking back after being saved. He refocuses on the orc, his face twisted with anger. But his anger quickly turns to shock as he sees something unexpected happen on the battlefield. Another party member is sent flying by the orc, proving it stronger than Yoon anticipated. The player hits the ground hard, knocked out of the fight. The main tank, a brown-haired armored player, shouts at Yoon and Sangyeon, asking if they're on a picnic and telling them to wake up. The tank steps forward, ordering the others to back off. The party cheers, calling him captain and praising his leadership. The orc lets out a battle cry and charges towards the new challenger. The tank bravely meets the charge, blocking the orc's heavy axe with his shield. The party cheers, thinking the fight is over. One praises the captain, another notes the strike hit the heart. Even Sangyeon smirks, impressed. He pulls his sword from the monster's chest as green blood drips from the wound. The party cheers, thinking the fight is over. One praises the captain, another notes the strike hit the heart. Even Sangyeon smirks, impressed. The orc isn't finished. It growls low, eyes glowing red with menacing fury as it glares at the tank. Enraged, the orc roars and brings its axe down for a powerful overhead swing, forcing the tank to defend. The axe crashes into the ground as the tank narrowly dodges, clicking his tongue in annoyance at his shallow stab. Sangyeon watches the fight silently, his expression unreadable as the battle rages on. Sangyeon observes from afar. He knows Yoon is the strongest, but at level 50, he can't hit the orc's vitals. The tank is sent flying by a powerful blow. The tank recovers and charges at the orc, shouting that it's had enough. With a final desperate effort, he drives his sword deep into the orc, yelling for it to go to sleep. The orc dissolves into black smoke. The party watches in awe, another exclaiming, "He took down the orc all by himself." The tank turns around, laughing boastfully that it was a piece of cake. He then asks if everyone else is all right. The party cheers loudly, shouting "Hell yeah!" and declaring they'll follow their captain all the way. As the captain rallies them, a terrifying roar echoes from deeper in the dungeon, halting their celebration. Down the corridor, a massive horde of red-skinned, glowing-eyed high orcs charges toward them. The party panics. A blonde player shouts that they're high orcs and points out a massive armored orc among them. The sweating tank assesses the dire situation, deciding it's best to retreat, baffled that they're being swarmed when one orc was already so tough. At that moment, Sangyeon steps forward calmly, asking the stunned party, "Is it okay if I give it a shot?" The party stares in disbelief. Dejeong Yoon yells, asking if he's lost his mind, while the tank apologizes to the captain and vows to beat some sense into him. The tank tries to reason, warning that chasing the thrill of new powers is reckless. Sangyeon ignores him, gripping his greatsword and walking toward battle. As a high orc charges, the tank warns Sangyeon he'll get killed. Sangyeon, already in motion, intercepts the monster with impossible speed. The rest of the high orcs watch as their comrade is stopped in his tracks. With a single, effortless slash of his greatsword, Sangyeon cleaves the massive high orc completely in two. The party stands speechless, unable to comprehend what just happened. Sangyeon has sliced the high orc in half, an impossible feat for a rookie wielding a greatsword. A system window appears with a ding, announcing that he has leveled up. Sangyeon rests the bloodied greatsword on his shoulder, a golden aura glowing around him. He smirks, thinking the slice felt dull because his level is still low. A player info screen confirms his status. Sangyeon Shin, now level 2, with the unique skill, Devour Artifact. The remaining high orcs let out a furious roar, undeterred by their fallen comrade. As another orc charges, shouting, Sangyeon dodges easily. "I have lots of experience," he thinks, effortlessly grabbing the orc's arm and stopping its momentum. With fluid motion, he slices through two more high orcs at once, cutting them down with ease. He then parries an attack from another, the monster roaring in frustration. As he prepares to strike, Sangyeon mutters, "Do you have any idea how many of you I killed in my youth?" He finishes the last high orc with a brutal downward slash. The blonde player watches in disbelief. "I can't believe he's just a rookie." Another party member adds that he might end up killing them all alone. With the lesser orcs defeated, Sangyeon steps forward, bloodied sword ready. "Now it's just you and me, armored orc," he says. Sangyeon stands before the hulking armored orc, the final and most powerful enemy in the horde. The armored orc lets out a furious roar and charges at him. It swings its massive club, but Sangyeon is too quick, easily dodging the devastating blow which shatters the ground. Sangyeon leaps into the air and delivers a powerful slash down onto the orc's shoulder. His blade sparks against the thick armor, leaving only a shallow gash. The party captain, watching from a distance, yells out that the armor is too thick and the cut was too shallow to do any real damage. Someone screams, "Watch out!" The armored orc swings its club at Sangyeon with incredible speed. The armored orc swings its club at Sangyeon with incredible speed. He looks up with a confident smirk and calmly asks, "What's all the fuss?" The armored orc is suddenly enveloped in a purple aura, its attack stopping mid-swing. A system window appears. Skill, Demon Bash Level 1 activated. The massive creature is completely frozen in place, trembling as the stun skill takes full effect. A skill description appears. Demon Bash is a hidden skill that stuns a target for 2 seconds. Success depending on the target's resistance. Sangyeon approaches the immobilized orc with a predatory smile. Good boy. Stay still, he says, readying his sword. The armored orc can only watch in horror, its mouth open in a silent scream as the blade approaches. With a clean, powerful slash, Sangyeon decapitates the formidable boss monster. Blood sprays through the air as the orc's massive body begins to fall, its head separated from its shoulders. The headless armored orc collapses with a thud. The party stands in stunned silence as the captain mutters, "I don't believe this." The captain stares past the carnage of dead high orcs at Sangyeon. Struggling to process the impossible feat, he fixates on one detail, the skill used, and wonders if it was a full stun. Yoon continues his thought process, noting that the stun on the armored orc was way longer than a quick stagger. The other party members murmur in agreement, noting that even top players only achieve 1.5-second stuns. They question how Sangyeon wields a greatsword so skillfully, with one sarcastically asking which MeTube video taught him. Yoon swallows hard, his mind racing as he tries to process what just happened. A stun skill? He realizes Sangyeon didn't just stun any orc, but a powerful armored orc. And he's supposed to be a complete newbie. While the party is in turmoil, Sangyeon casually checks if all the monsters are defeated. Yoon, still in shock, wonders how a rookie could possess such skill. Another system notification pops up for Sangyeon, congratulating him on leveling up again. He learns he has met the conditions for a title and receives the F-tier title, Fearless Puppy, granting +5 evasion. Sangyeon opens his status window, pleased. He expected to level up, but the title with an evasion bonus is a pleasant surprise. The system then informs him that he has 1 bonus stat point available to allocate. Sangyeon smiles, already knowing exactly where he'll put the point. He recalls his past life, realizing too late how luck affects skill success and item drops. Using this knowledge, he raises his luck from 10 to 12. Yoon and the party approach, faces full of awe and suspicion. Yoon asks, "Hey, are you really a newbie?" Yoon points out that Sangyeon used a stun skill and, with a serious expression, demands, "Where did you get such a skill?" Sangyeon knows he can't reveal the truth about time travel, so he laughs nervously and says, "I just got it when I awakened." Yoon explodes in anger, shouting that it makes no sense and warning Sangyeon he won't get away with it. Yoon glances at Sangyeon's greatsword, a theory forming. "Be honest, you got super lucky," he says, noting the weapon's faint, powerful aura. Yoon suspects Sangyeon wields a diamond-tier weapon. Sangyeon displays the greatsword, leaving Yoon flustered. Yoon takes the greatsword to inspect it. An item window shows it is a faded greatsword, a normal artifact with no special powers. Yoon realizes the sword is ordinary and that the skill came from Sangyeon himself, leaving him in disbelief. Yoon clenches his fists in frustration, lamenting that after 2 years and reaching level 50, he still lacks a skill like Sangyeon's. His worry shifts to the impending loot split. Before Yoon can finish, a party member shouts that the mini-boss has spawned. The party calls to their captain. Gritting his teeth, Yoon sets aside his frustration and orders them to move, giving Sangyeon a backhanded compliment while warning him not to get cocky. He warns that Sangyeon's flashy skill will be useless against the fearsome demon orc they are about to face, a statement that piques Sangyeon's interest. A sly grin spreads across Sangyeon's face as he remembers the true reason he joined the party. He calls out to Captain Yoon as they walk away. Yoon and the others turn to see Sangyeon standing alone in the quiet corridor. Mistaking his calm for fear, they assume he's backing down, but Sangyeon, amid the carnage he caused, boldly proposes to face the demon orc alone. Sangyeon, smiling brightly, asks if he can take the artifact drop for himself since loot is split by contribution, leaving the party stunned. The story introduces a key item, the red gallstone. It is a rare artifact that drops from demon orcs. The drop rate is so incredibly low that one could kill millions of them and still not find a single one. Sangyeon recalls his past life, where he and his team failed this exact dungeon raid. He recalls sitting defeated with his fallen comrades, watching another team boast about finding a red gallstone immediately after. As his past self looked on in disbelief, he overheard someone congratulating their captain. He watched as the other teams celebrated their incredible luck, unable to believe the rare artifact actually dropped. One of the members exclaimed that the captain would make a fortune if he put it on the market. But what truly caught Sangyeon's attention was the mention that this particular gallstone had the delay skill. The word delay echoed in his mind. Back in the present, Sangyeon knew that delay was a skill he definitely needed right now. In the present, Sangyeon stands before another party, a defeated orc nearby, assessing the situation as his chance arrives. With a confident smirk, Sangyeon sets his terms, knowing that soloing the boss allows him to claim all the loot under the party's contribution-based system. The captain of the other party is left speechless. Sangyeon is determined to obtain the delay skill, a key part of his future plans, fully aware that making such a bold claim as a newcomer is risky, and, as expected, it doesn't go over well with most people. Two party members glare at Sangyeon with anger and disdain, one shouting, questioning if he's lost his mind. Two party members glare at Sangyeon with anger and disdain, one shouting, questioning if he's lost his mind. However, the captain cuts them off, looking at Sangyeon with a mix of annoyance and arrogance. He agrees, telling him to go ahead. The team is shocked, one exclaiming about the captain, but he clarifies that Sangyeon's offer only stands if they fail to defeat the boss. He points assertively at Sangyeon, sealing the deal. In that case, Sangyeon can solo it and take the rewards for himself. Got it? Sangyeon smiles inwardly, finding it easier than expected. He calmly agrees to stay back and let them attempt the boss first. With a derisive scoff, the captain confirms the arrangement, making it clear that from this point forward, Sangyeon is completely on his own. The captain turns away, leading his team as one member calls out for him to wait. He grits his teeth in anger, thinking to himself what an arrogant little brat Sangyeon is. He dismisses Sangyeon's confidence as nothing more than someone pretending to be a big shot just because he has one overpowered skill. Determined, he pushes open the boss room doors, vowing to defeat the demon orc quickly and prove Sangyeon wrong. He plans to show the newcomer his veteran skills as his team follows him through the large, ominous gates. But as they enter, the captain stops in his tracks, startled by the sight before them. A system message announces their arrival in the mini-boss chamber, where a menacing silhouette with glowing red eyes waits in the shadows. The heavy doors swing shut behind them, sealing them inside the vast, torchlit chamber. The mini-boss is revealed in its full glory, the massive, terrifying, bloodthirsty demon orc. The captain, trying to regain his composure, orders everyone to stand ready as they march forward. He notes that despite its appearance, the boss should be easy according to his purchased walkthrough and orders his teammates to circle and attack from behind. The captain smirks condescendingly, thinking that the kid won't even get a shot at this rate. With a war cry, he leads his party in a full frontal charge, claiming first blood against the demon orc. Moments later, the captain lies bloodied and dazed on the ground, muttering, "What?" He staggers, trying to comprehend what just happened, only to see Sangyeon standing calmly at the chamber entrance. Sangyeon watches the disastrous scene unfold, a bead of sweat on his face as he thinks they were reckless. He reflects on how they rushed in with such misplaced confidence. It turns out their only strategy was to charge in headfirst. With a sense of irony, he remembers that this is exactly why his own party failed the first time he attempted this raid. One of the downed party members cries out in despair to their captain, asking what to do now as the giant orc looms over them. The team is in a full-blown panic, realizing that if this keeps up, they're done for. The captain can only grunt in pain and frustration. He struggles to comprehend it. First the high orcs, now the demon orc. Why are they all so strong? As the beast huffs, the captain finally realizes his mistake. He knew he shouldn't have trusted some cheap walkthrough. He tells his team to retreat instead of fighting the mini-boss, but a sudden sight startles him. The captain curses at Sangyeon, furious that he was just standing there doing nothing while they were getting beaten. He orders his team to ignore Sangyeon and fall back, instructing them to use the stairs to the side to escape the demon orc's narrow field of vision. As they retreat, the party members breathe a sigh of relief. After all, it's only a mini-boss, so there's no real need to defeat it. Before leaving, the bloodied captain looks to Sangyeon for a word. Sangyeon responds calmly. The bloodied captain sneers a final warning, implying Sangyeon will be torn apart if he proceeds alone. Sangyeon's eyes glint with unshakable confidence. He grips the hilt of his massive sword with calm confidence, certain that such an outcome will never happen. With a metallic ring, Sangyeon draws his great sword, ready to face the beast alone. He stands firm as the giant demon orc charges towards him, axe raised high. Sangyeon knows that it's normally impossible to beat a demon orc with the stats he currently has. With 30 years of past life combat experience, the outcome is entirely different. As the orc's massive axe comes crashing down, Sangyeon meets it head-on, deflecting the blow with his own sword. The demon orc looks on, surprised by this human's unexpected strength. From the sidelines, the captain's party watches in disbelief, amazed that Sangyeon deflected the massive axe with such force. Sangyeon exhales, his hands numb from the impact. Shaking them back to life, he recognizes that deflecting the attack is the limit of his current strength. As the demon orc lets out a ferocious roar, the gem embedded in its chest begins to gleam with a brilliant red light. A wide grin spreads across Sangyeon's face as he greets his prize. Long time no see, Red Gallstone. He reveals that his focus on this item stems from the potential synergy between the skills Delay and Demon Bash. He explains that his Demon Bash skill stuns an enemy for 2 seconds. While useful, he doesn't see a lot of growth potential for the skill on its own. However, his unique skill, Devour Artifact, allows him to combine skills. If he could find a skill that can keep stacking the stun effect from Demon Bash, he could effectively stun lock an enemy, rendering them helpless. He realizes that Delay could enable a stun lock when combined with Demon Bash. Back in the present, Sangyeon taunts the massive beast, holding his sword at the ready. What are you waiting for? Come at me. The demon orc lets out a furious growl, enraged by the challenge. It swings its giant axe down with tremendous force. A predatory grin spreads across Sangyeon's face. That's more like it, he thinks, seeing his chance. As the axe comes down, he dodges to the side and slashes at the orc's exposed flank, crying out, "Now I can go for the opening!" The orc's axe smashes into the stone floor, missing him completely. A system window pops up as he lands the blow. Demon Bash Level 1 activated. The demon orc trembles and rattles, completely stunned for 2.0 seconds. From a safe distance, the captain watches in disbelief, stunned that the skill works on a mini-boss. Thought is cut short as a strange purple energy bursts from the orc, catching him by surprise. The orc stomps its foot, releasing a powerful shockwave. The force of the blast sends Sangyeon skidding backward across the chamber floor. Bracing with his sword, he grits his teeth, realizing Sangyeon has self-heal. A green aura envelopes the demon orc as it recovers from the stun. The system confirms that its self-heal skill reduces stun duration. Sangyeon calculates that he needs 15 seconds before he can stun the beast again. He twirls his sword with a wry smile, thinking, "This is exactly why I need Delay." With his initial plan thwarted, he decides, "Anyway, it looks like I have to do this the old-fashioned way." He stands over the shadow of the recovering orc, sword held high, preparing for a direct confrontation. "Let's do this!" he yells, charging forward to meet the orc's attack head-on, their weapons clashing with a deafening crash. Watching the renewed clash, one of the party members nervously urges his captain, "Hey, Captain, I think we really should go." The man points out that Sangyeon's stun skill doesn't seem to be effective anymore, his voice filled with concern. He watches Sangyeon struggle, sweat beading on his own face. The party member continues his panicked observation, noting that the orc is far stronger than Sangyeon in every way. He turns to his stunned captain, surprised by how much Sangyeon seems to be enjoying himself. Indeed, a confident smile plays on Sangyeon's lips as debris from the battle floats around him. All right, he thinks, time to end this. While the onlookers question if a newbie can really pull this off, Sangyeon recalls a similar fight from his past life against a much stronger opponent. He skids to a halt, digging his heels into the ground and preparing his final move. He knows that if his stats are far lower than the enemy's, he needs to focus all his strength into a single point. This won't be a slashing attack. The plan is to use the opponent's own momentum against him and thrust forward. With perfect timing, Sangyeon lunges forward, driving his great sword straight through the demon orc's chest. A system message rings out, "Congratulations! You have defeated the mini-boss." A notification flashes before his eyes. "Level up," followed by another. "Acquired E-tier title, Demon Hunter." Sangyeon stands triumphantly atop the fallen beast, letting out a breath of relief as the rewards for his victory appear. He examines the new title. The E-tier Demon Hunter title grants him a 400% boost to his stamina recovery rate during combat with mini-bosses or higher. Looking at his status screen, he muses, 2 titles already? Wow, soloing really has its benefits. But his satisfaction is cut short as he notices something. He sees the captain and his party walking back towards him. Having witnessed his incredible solo victory, the entire party, still bloodied and bruised, stares at him in stunned silence. A sly grin appears on Sangyeon's face as he thinks to himself, there is only one way. To avoid an awkward situation here, he puts on a show, staggering dramatically and crying out, "Phew! I nearly died there. If the captain hadn't dealt damage already, I never would have beaten that thing." One of the party members buys the act completely, eagerly telling the captain he knew he must have done some damage. The captain can only manage a confused, yeah. Then, realization dawns on the captain's face. What? He looks at Sangyeon, who stands there with an air of relaxed confidence. The captain finally understands Sangyeon's intention. Read the room, bro. Sangyeon gives a subtle, knowing smirk. The captain gets the message loud and clear. So he's saving me the embarrassment. As the red glow of the loot pulses from the dead orc, the captain realizes Sangyeon expects him to honor the loot agreement. Sweating, the captain mumbles under his breath in begrudging defeat. You got me, kid. Saving face, the captain bellows at his team not to let their guard down. He declares that now that they are done with the mini-boss, they're going after the final boss. His team stammers in agreement. Yes, sir. As the party praises their captain, believing he secured the victory, Sangyeon watches silently, noting that his stun skill hadn't even worked fully on the mini-boss. With the enemies defeated, Sangyeon smiles triumphantly, turning to the orc's corpse and preparing to claim his prize. A brilliant pillar of light erupts from the demon orc's body, and the coveted red gallstone floats into the air. His prize is finally his. The item window reveals its power, a silver artifact that grants the special effect, Delay, and a welcome bonus of +10 to both strength and stamina. The scene opens within the gap of unconsciousness, Shin Sangyeon's metaphysical space. Inside the void, Sangyeon's form changes, his hair glowing brilliant white as power surges through him. A satisfied smile spreads across his face at the overwhelming sensation. A magnificent dish of gourmet cold noodles with boiled pork materializes before him, glowing with a golden light. He accepts the vision with delight, seeing the glowing dish as a lucky sign before preparing to eat. But as he indulges in the spectral meal, a system notification announces that the real process is ready to begin. The absorption of the red gallstone. He lifts a piece of pork and a bundle of noodles, the food sparkling as if to emphasize the deliciousness of this phantom feast. The system confirms the process is underway, officially starting the absorption of the red gallstone. The absorption succeeds, granting Sangyeon a permanent +2 bonus to strength and stamina thanks to the artifact's silver-grade quality. More importantly, he gains a new special effect, symbolized by an hourglass icon representing the Delay skill. A system window announces that he has acquired the special effect, Delay. The system explains that this powerful new effect can be applied to augment one of his existing skills. Sangyeon's heart pounds with a mix of nerves and excitement. This is the power-up he has been waiting for. Without hesitation, he decides on the perfect combination, mumbling his intention to apply the Delay effect to his Demon Bash skill. The system confirms the addition of Delay, creating a stronger version of Demon Bash. The new skills mechanics show that using Demon Bash triggers a second stun, effectively extending its duration when used quickly. The system shows that the second stun is guaranteed, but chances of further extension decrease with each use. He crouches, stunned by his success. He swallows, grinning as he realizes the guaranteed for second stun combo, once theoretical, has actually worked. As he admires his new ability, a voice interrupts, asking for a moment. Without looking up, Sangyeon casually agrees. The party captain informs Sangyeon that the orc berserker is next, and Sangyeon asks if he wants to try first. The captain insists, saying it would be a failure not to make use of a player like him. He extends his fist, signaling partnership and acknowledging Sangyeon's strength. Sangyeon smiles confidently and shakes hands with the captain, sealing their new partnership. A party member calls the captain boss, announcing they're ready for the boss chamber. The captain agrees, and Sangyeon stands calmly as the blonde member watches. A close-up of the blonde member shows a resentful scowl, clearly displeased with the situation. Sangyeon subtly turns his head, catching the hostile glare directed at him, but he remains unfazed. The captain, oblivious to the tension, rallies his team with a loud cheer, promising celebratory drinks after they defeat this final boss. Sangyeon stands with a relaxed, almost arrogant posture, calmly wondering to himself if that other player really just glared at him. The scene shifts to the vast, dark boss arena. In the center, the formidable orc berserker kneels, emanating a sinister red and black aura. From the shadows, the boss lets out a terrifying roar, its glowing red eyes and monstrous mouth promising a brutal fight. The orc berserker rises. It's a hulking beast covered in glowing tribal tattoos, wielding a massive, spiked mace. The party murmurs nervously among themselves as they stare down the intimidating boss from a safe distance. The captain, sweating with nervousness, clears his throat and attempts to announce that Sangyeon will lead the way. But Sangyeon is already on the move. Drawing his sword, he confidently strides past the captain, telling everyone to follow his lead, much to their astonishment. A teammate protests, but Sangyeon calmly considers that orc berserkers have lower skill resistance than the demon orcs, making a stun easier if he stays composed. With a steady resolve, he pushes all doubts aside and reassures himself that he'll be fine. The orc berserker lunges, smashing its massive mace into the ground where Sangyeon had stood. As he dodges, Sangyeon has a moment of self-awareness, marveling at his own newfound boldness. Did he really just tell a whole party to follow his lead? He reflects on himself, wondering if he had ever spoken with such confidence before. A brief flashback answers him. In his youth, he was nothing but a coward, a terrified porter flinching at every danger while hauling heavy packs through hostile territory. Another memory rises from his past life. As he grew older, he was always scraping by, begging for a place in parties, only to be turned away again and again because of his low level. Snapping back to the present, his resolve hardens. He refuses to walk that same pathetic path again. Launching himself at the orc berserker, his mind narrows to a single goal. This time he will change. To cast off everything he was in his past, he must first face the roaring beast that stands before him, swinging its deadly mace. To truly change his destiny, he slips past the attack, draws his blade, and readies himself to prove the culmination of his knowledge and power. His inner monologue continues as he stares down the beast, knowing he has to let everyone in his party witness his true power. Watching from the rear, the captain feels a chill crawl up his spine. As Sangyeon's overwhelming aura fills the chamber, only one thought crosses his mind. He is a monster. Driven by his resolve to prove absolute dominance, Sangyeon surges forward and unleashes Demon Bash. His blade carves deep into the orc berserker, and the massive creature freezes instantly, stunned before it can react. The captain shouts in disbelief, quickly realizing what just happened. Sangyeon has completely locked down the orc berserker, a full 4-second stun holding the boss helpless in place as the party looks on in shock. A system window appears for Sangyeon, confirming that his skill, Demon Bash Level 1, has been activated successfully. Seizing the opportunity, the captain yells for the rest of the party to attack the immobilized boss with everything they've got. The team roars and charges forward. The stunned orc berserker can do nothing but let out a helpless, guttural cry of frustration as the players descend upon it. The party members mercilessly slash and strike the defenseless boss, taking full advantage of the precious 4 seconds Sangyeon bought them. In an instant, the fight ends. A system window flashes into view, confirming the result as the orc berserker collapses. Congratulations! The final boss orc berserker has been defeated. A second notification follows, confirming that the dungeon itself, the blood-stained orc altar, has been successfully cleared. 2 party members gawk at the defeated boss, realizing Sangyeon's stun skill made the fight effortless and saved them entirely. A scramble ensues as party members vie to become Sangyeon's personal mule, each desperate to serve the extraordinarily skilled player. A scramble ensues as party members vie to become Sangyeon's personal mule, each desperate to serve the extraordinarily skilled player. Suddenly, multiple system windows appear in front of Sangyeon, repeatedly announcing that he has leveled up. Following his level ups, he receives another reward. He has acquired the D-tier title. With overwhelming power, Sangyeon's power surges with a new D-tier title, granting him a permanent 10% boost to all stats. Sangyeon smirks, Noting the title boosts his stun to at least 4.4 seconds and remembering he never earned a single title in his first life. However, his satisfaction is short-lived as a sobering thought crosses his mind. Compared to that man, he is still nothing. A bead of sweat trickles down his face as he recalls the legendary player who set an impossibly high bar. His thoughts drift to a flashback of a legendary figure, Gyeongsu-do, known as the Sword Demon, the Title Collector, and the Perfect Swordsman. Sangyeon remembers him as the strongest swordsman in the nation, an absolute beast who reached the staggering height of level 1000. What made it even more incredible was that Gyeongsu-do achieved this feat only 2 years after the era of players first began. In the present, Sangyeon swallows hard, recalling that in his past life this man was an untouchable idol he could only admire. Now everything has changed. Sangyeon's clenched fist radiates raw determination, making even the nearby porter flinch. He resolves to match the legend's greatness, knowing only relentless effort will get him there. Yoon approaches, interrupting Sangyeon's thoughts. When asked what he's doing, Sangyeon awkwardly claims he's just stretching. Yoon brushes it off and hands Sangyeon a shining golden ring, the boss's drop. Sangyeon stares in complete shock. Stunned, Sangyeon asks why Yoon is giving him the ring. Yoon admits bluntly that Sangyeon carried the entire team through the final fight. He adds with a grin that it's only a bronze-tier item anyway. Sangyeon is taken aback by his blunt honesty. The captain laughs, teasing Sangyeon about expecting a truly valuable item. He explains that the real reason for giving it away is that they probably won't meet again. Sangyeon examines the gifted ring with a smirk. Regardless of the captain's reasons, it's still a good haul for him. Sangyeon stands silently, absorbing Yoon's unspoken acknowledgement of his superiority. The gap between them is undeniable, yet it fuels his resolve for the future. From a distance, the jealous blonde party member watches the friendly exchange with growing resentment. Jealousy burns within him as he watches Sangyeon effortlessly gain the captain's favor. Every ounce of his own hard work feels overshadowed, and he clenches his fist, refusing to accept it. Seething with rage, he swears revenge in silence, his glare fixed on Sangyeon as resentment hardens into resolve. He immediately pulls out his phone and makes a call, deciding to take action on his grudge. The scene transitions away from the dungeon to Sangyeon's home, a modern apartment building in the Jamsil, Songpa district. Back at his place, Sangyeon is beaming with pure joy, laughing to himself and exclaiming that moments like this are why he became a player. He stares at his phone, seeing the 6 million won payment from Yoon. The sum dwarfs the 200,000 won he once earned in a full day as a mule, leaving him in awe. On top of the generous payment, he also got a new artifact. He summons the Berserker Ring, which materializes on the table in front of him. The system window shows the item details. A bronze-tier support ring named Berserker Ring, granting plus 10 strength and the special effect Featherweight. Sangyeon examines the bronze-tier ring with a knowing smile, already devising a plan to maximize its potential. The system window details the ring's effect. It makes all worn artifacts nearly weightless, consuming 1 MP per second as a constant cost. Sangyeon notes the ring's drawback. The steady drain of 1 mana per second is why it is a low-tier bronze item. An average player would deplete their mana before swinging a weapon effectively. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he thinks to himself, "But I'm no average player." He recalls his past life. Even though he only mastered his Devour artifact ability after turning 50, he spent years researching and experimenting with it relentlessly. A flashback shows his older self surrounded by books and magical energy, recalling a time he devoured an artifact with a similar mana-draining effect. He discovered that devouring an artifact that consumes mana causes a penalty. The mana cost is removed permanently, a loophole only he knows. In the present, he channels energy into the Berserker Ring, sinking mana, scoffing at the small penalty, knowing each new skill makes him exponentially stronger. The scene abruptly shifts to a lavish and noisy private nightclub, located in the upscale Gangnam district of Seoul. Here, the jealous blonde party member is frantically pleading with his superior, ranting that he needs to believe him because Sangyeon has an unheard-of 4-second stun. A cold voice asks if he raised his voice, freezing the blonde man who apologizes. The boss, large and intimidating, dismisses the 4-second stun. The boss, annoyed, asks if he wants revenge or what. The blonde man frames it as a business issue, claiming the captain favors Sangyeon. The boss sees through it, stating, "So you are asking for revenge?" A woman scoffs at the blonde man, calling him a loser. The scarred boss says, "Yo," and when the subordinate responds, his ear is instantly slashed. The boss smirks, saying he earned an ear's worth of favor, then pours alcohol on the wound, making him scream. The boss, intrigued with a cruel smile, asks his subordinate where the guy is. The scene opens at Jamsil Training Center 4-3, where Shin Sangyeon is seen walking with his greatsword. Exhausted from his training, Sangyeon plops down, the massive sword by his side. He grimaces, thinking about the penalty from his skill, which feels as unpleasant as being forced to eat a dish that nobody likes. But as he glances at his greatsword, he realizes there's always a silver lining. He effortlessly flips the enormous sword into the air, testing its weight. Catching it with ease, he's shocked. The sword is incredibly light. A system window explains the featherweight passive skill. The supposed penalty increases the perceived weight of artifacts to 4 ounces. For a greatsword, this is practically weightless, turning a drawback into a huge advantage. Sangyeon smirks, realizing he'll have to get used to wielding the feather-light greatsword to keep it from flying out of his hands. Satisfied with this unexpected development, he decides to check his current status. His player info displays his name, Sangyeon Shin, at level 8, with the unique skill, Devour Artifact, and 3 devoured artifacts. His status menu shows his impressive stats, with luck being particularly high at 17. A look of contemplation crosses his face as he plans his next move. He thinks about the kind of constellation he should choose next. He hopes it's one that provides a significant bonus to luck, which he considers his main stat. With a new goal in mind, Sangyeon rises, ready to continue his training. He now stands before a yard full of training dummies, prepared to test his skills. Sometime later, a white car screeches to a halt, signaling a change of scene. Sangyeon, now in a stylish black coat, gets out of the car with a look of annoyance. He lets out a groan and stretches his body, his greatsword now leaning against the side of his car. A system notification pops up, informing him that he has acquired two-handed sword mastery, a passive skill that improves his use of large swords. His destination is revealed: a massive, swirling blue portal leading to dungeon number 101, a solo dungeon. A confident smile appears on his face as he looks towards the challenge ahead. With a sharp glance, his eyes show his unwavering determination to conquer the dungeon. His car is seen parked near the forest entrance, indicating he has arrived at his destination. Shin Sangyeon stands resolutely before the dungeon, his great sword in hand, ready for the challenge that awaits him inside. Before entering the dungeon, Shin Sangyeon reaffirms his resolve. He decides that whatever problems may arise, he will handle them inside the dungeon. With that, he confidently steps through the shimmering blue portal. But as he materializes inside, he's immediately confronted by an unexpected sight. Another party is already there. Sangyeon voices his confusion, as this was supposed to be a solo dungeon. The blue-haired man with scars, Juntae, simply lets out a slight smirk, showing no surprise at all. Sangyeon takes a moment to assess the situation, his hand resting on the hilt of his greatsword as he leans against the dungeon wall. Juntae watches him from the side, a predatory look in his eyes. Sangyeon looks up, his expression hardening as he asserts his dominance. "But this is my dungeon." Juntae seems amused by this display of confidence, remarking to himself that Sangyeon is no average fool. The entire enemy party comes into view: a large brawler, a cocky swordsman, the scarred Juntae, and a calculating archer with glasses. Sangyeon immediately analyzes their group, noting to himself that their party composition is odd for monster hunting. He gives them one chance to walk away, offering not to report their illegal entry if they leave now. But the cold, sharp look in his eyes says he knows exactly what kind of players they are. His suspicions are confirmed. This isn't a team of adventurers. They're a party of player killers whose sole purpose is to hunt other humans. The brown-haired swordsman and the large brawler erupt in crazed, sinister laughter. One of them voices their murderous intent, yelling that if they kill Sangyeon here, no one will ever find out. Unfazed by their threats, Sangyeon responds with a chilling, confident smile. He coolly analyzes their setup, thinking that in player-killer parties, the archers are typically the most dangerous members. The hyena team's archer, seemingly the brains of the group, agrees and urges his teammates to wrap things up quickly. The large brawler is taken aback, Confused by Sangyeon's complete lack of fear, Sangyeon mockingly flips their threat back on them, asking a question of his own. He asks how, exactly, they expect him to dispose of their 4 dead bodies once he's done with them and has to leave the dungeon. His audacious counter-threat stuns the party into silence, the brawler and Juntae looking on in disbelief at his sheer nerve. But the shock quickly turns into amusement for their leader. Juntae is the first to recover, a predatory grin spreading across his face as he calmly replies, "Easy, bro." The large brawler, eager for a fight, steps forward, boasting that this will be easy. Sangyeon stands his ground, unimpressed. He tells them to stop wasting time and attack him all at once. Enraged, the brawler charges forward, swinging his massive weapon down with full force. As the attack approaches, Sangyeon remains perfectly calm, his expression unreadable. His mind flashes back to a core tenet of his past life: survival of the fittest. A perfect description for the brutal reality of the dungeons. A memory surfaces. A younger, battle-hardened Sangyeon, covered in blood and scars. He stands over a fallen enemy, his expression grim, forged by countless life-or-death battles. His philosophy is simple and brutal. The weak get devoured, the strong survive. In his world, if you want to live, you must kill. This is the law he has always lived by. Back in the present, the remaining members of the hyena team stare in absolute shock and horror. The brawler lies dead on the ground, defeated in a single unseen strike. Sangyeon stands over the body, his sword planted firmly in the stone floor. He looks up at the remaining player killers, his voice cold and steady. He informs them that everything that is about to happen is simply an act of self-defense. With a chilling gaze, he taunts them. "What are you standing there for?" Snapping out of their stupor, Juntae and the swordsman charge forward together. Juntae yells for his team to spread out and begin their assault. He orders the archer to provide covering fire while the others get into position. The terrified archer nervously agrees, preparing to fire his bow. He can't believe what he just saw, thinking to himself that even though the brawler was a meathead, he was still a level 100 player. The archer sweats, grappling with the terrifying reality of Sangyeon's immense power. Sangyeon meets the charge by spinning his greatsword at incredible speed, creating a defensive vortex. He taunts them, "How long do you plan on running?" As the archer fires a volley of arrows, the swordsman screams in terror, calling Sangyeon a monster as his attacks are effortlessly blocked. A close-up shows Sangyeon's eye, glowing with power as he focuses within the storm of steel. The arrows are completely neutralized, shattering into pieces before they can reach him. The battle continues in a blur of motion, ending with a sickening splat as another enemy is struck down. Juntae looks back in horror as the force of Sangyeon's blow sends the swordsman's body flying. He stares at his fallen comrade before turning to Sangyeon, his face a mask of fear and rage. Then, a sudden, terrifying realization hits him. He finally understands the true gap in their power. He realizes that while he was trying to run away, Sangyeon was already closing the distance. Sangyeon smirks, admitting he got a bit carried away. Seeing an opportunity, Juntae thinks this is their chance to strike back. He yells, "Now!" and skids to a halt, preparing a pincer attack with his remaining teammates. The archer activates an artifact, trapping Sangyeon in a cross-shaped holy barrier. However, Sangyeon easily shatters the trap with a powerful shockwave, sending all 3 enemies flying backward. He lands gracefully, already preparing his next move. The 2 remaining melee fighters, Juntae and the swordsman, charge at him from both sides, screaming for him to just die already. In a brilliant display of skill, Sangyeon blocks both of their attacks at the same time with his single greatsword. The swordsman's weapon shatters upon impact with Sangyeon's superior blade. He can only stare at his broken sword in disbelief, crying out, "What the?" With incredible agility, Sangyeon vaults high into the air, casually sighing about how intense the fight is. His opponents are stunned. Juntae and the swordsman look up, completely baffled by his skill and casual demeanor. Suddenly, in a despicable act of self-preservation, Juntae grabs his own teammate from behind. The swordsman is confused, unable to understand the betrayal. "Huh? What are you doing, Juntae?" With a completely ruthless expression, Juntae shoves his ally forward, using him as a human shield against Sangyeon's descending attack. Sangyeon doesn't hesitate, piercing through the unwilling shield to strike his true target. Juntae cruelly digs his fingers into his dying teammate's face, ensuring his body takes the full force of the blow. As he strikes the final blow, Sangyeon recalls a grim detail about this crew. "That reminds me, you guys are in the organ trade business, aren't you?" Sangyeon lands gracefully behind Juntae, who is still holding the corpse of his former ally, his face pale with terror.
À Sinisté aura envelop Sangyeon.
Demonic horns appear on his head and his hands become vicious claws as he activates a skill. He gives a sadistic smile. In response, Juntae flashes a crazed, desperate grin of his own. Realizing this is his final stand, Sangyeon calmly dodges Juntae's wild swing, casually remarking, "I was only asking geez." A system window confirms what just happened. The skill, Demon Bash LV1, has been activated. Juntae freezes mid-motion, his body twitching uncontrollably as a purple aura envelopes him. The skill has taken effect. The system announces the devastating result. Juntae is stunned for 2.2 seconds, an eternity in a battle like this. He trembles in shock, unable to believe he's been stunned and wondering when he was even hit. The horrific realization dawns on him that the stun was triggered from the minor cut he received when Sangyeon killed his human shield. Juntae internally screams at the absurdity of it all. This is ridiculous. How could he have such an OP skill? Sangyeon looms over him and declares, "It's over." But with his heart pounding in his chest, Juntae furiously refuses to accept his defeat. A close-up shows the pure terror in Juntae's eyes as cold sweat pours down his face. His life flashes before his eyes, recalling his own twisted philosophy. "I'm always the one who kills. It's been that way since the beginning." The flashback shows a younger, arrogant Juntae being praised by his original crew. He was their boss, the one they looked up to. His underling praises him, saying, "I can always depend on you," highlighting the trust his crew once had in him. But the memory darkens, revealing Juntae's true nature. That same crew member is now bloodied and beaten, crying out why? The flashback reveals Juntae standing over his own terrified teammate, who begs for his life. Juntae has always been a predator, even to his allies. With his final moments ticking away, Juntae is helpless before Sangyeon, flinching in absolute terror. Sangyeon looks down on the man who preyed on others and asks a simple, chilling question. "Are you scared, now that the shoe's on the other foot?" He delivers justice to the predator, forcing him to feel the same fear his victims felt. After the battle is over, Sangyeon reflects to himself that he shouldn't get so used to this kind of grim situation. He finds a quiet spot in the dungeon by some water and begins to meticulously clean the blood from his greatsword. Thinking back on his ruthless actions, he makes a firm decision about his future path. "I'm definitely not getting a holy-type constellation," he mutters to himself with a wry, exasperated expression. His work done, he glances over at the spoils of his victory. A pile of glittering loot dropped by the slain player killers. A system window pops up, confirming his rewards for dispatching the illegal hunters. The full display of his prize. 8 valuable artifacts, including powerful swords and a bow, all sparkling with potential. After finishing his business in the dungeon, Sangyeon Shin stretches his arms, the fabric of his coat flapping in the still air. He checks his player info. Sangyeon Shin, level 11. With the unique skill Devour artifact and a total of 11 artifacts consumed. He opens the detailed status menu, seeing substantial boosts to strength, stamina, dexterity, and more. He muses that despite the great rewards, he would have preferred to avoid the dangerous and troublesome situation. Standing beside the massive sword he acquired, Sangyeon reviews his newly improved stats on the system window. He thinks he can't complain about the loot, humorously noting that devouring so many artifacts does not make him gain weight. A confident smirk plays on his lips as he realizes that, despite being only level 11, his stats make him as powerful as a level 50 player. He can't believe how quickly he's growing after just a few days. His thoughts then turn to another piece of loot as he begins to rummage through his coat. He pulls out a small, gleaming object from his pocket. A ring. He finds the recovery ring, a silver-class artifact that removes all status effects for 10 MP, doubling the cost if used again within 60 seconds. He recalls the Raging Bull he fought earlier, realizing it must have had an artifact with a similar status cure ability. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as he realizes that relying only on Demon Bash could have been disastrous, nervously chuckling and noting to be more careful in the future. Without hesitation, he initiates a mana sync with the recovery ring, absorbing its power into himself. The scene shifts to the dark inner passage of dungeon number 101, where goblins armed with crude axes march along minecart tracks. One of the goblins stops, letting out a questioning grunt as if it sensed something amiss. From the shadows, Sangyeon observes the unsuspecting goblin mob, his hand already on his weapon. With a faint smirk, he takes a determined step forward, holding his enormous sword. An idea sparks as he recalls the challenging condition needed to earn the title, "It's my lucky day." He blindfolds himself, thinking the condition is crazy, but to earn the title he must kill at least 500 mobs without seeing. Suddenly aware of his presence, the goblins turn around, startled and on guard. Blindfolded, Sangyeon holds his sword, wondering where the mobs are and preparing to rely on his other senses. One of the goblins lets out a guttural, mocking laugh, its long tongue dripping with saliva. He closes his eyes to concentrate, murmuring that he feels something as he tunes into the dungeon's subtle shifts. An exclamation mark appears above his head, signaling heightened awareness as he grips his sword, having located the enemies by feeling. He reminds himself to focus all his senses on the sounds and the flow of the surrounding atmosphere. As he concentrates, his hair begins to turn white, a visual manifestation of his senses expanding beyond their normal limits. He enters extreme focus, his hair turning completely white, standing in a field of pure sensory information represented by energy ripples in a dark void. He knows the key is not just to reach this state but to maintain it. In this state, every movement and sound creates a ripple in his perception, letting him visualize the battlefield without sight. He senses the subtle sounds of enemy movements, each footstep a distinct plip and plop in the darkness. He floats in the center of this sensory storm, perfectly aware of every enemy's position and movement around him. His hair returns to its normal black color as he locks onto his targets. With a confident smirk, he says, "Got it." A goblin lets out a fierce war cry as it charges forward, swinging its heavy axe. Unleashing a whirlwind of slashes, Sangyeon effortlessly cuts through the entire mob of goblins in a single, fluid motion. He stands victorious in a field of goblin corpses, blood dripping from his great sword. He examines his handiwork, noting with satisfaction that they were all clean, precise cuts. A sinister, blood-splattered smile spreads across his face, revealing his pleasure in the slaughter. Suddenly, an arrow flies through the air towards him at incredible speed. Even blindfolded, his heightened senses allow him to perceive the incoming projectile instantly. With a casual flick of his wrist, he effortlessly parries the arrow, remarking, "I told you, I got it." He then demonstrates his complete superiority by catching the arrow shaft with his bare hand, cracking it on impact. The goblin archer who fired the shot can only stare in utter disbelief, its attack rendered completely useless. He internally reflects on his situation, admitting to himself that he was in a bit of a dangerous spot earlier. The last goblin trembles, paralyzed by Sangyeon's overwhelming dark aura. Knowing it must flee, he concludes his thought, stating that the danger reminded him of his old days, reawakening his dormant fighting senses from his past life. With his senses fully awakened, his hair once again white, he readies himself for the next wave. A confident, predatory grin spreads across his face as he issues a challenge. "Come at me, trash mobs." Responding to his taunt, a massive horde of goblins charges towards him with furious cries. Again, he moves like a phantom, his blade a blur as he cuts down another goblin at the head of the charge. He continues his blindfolded rampage, smiling gleefully as his sword slashes through wave after wave of goblins. Soon, only a single goblin remains, standing frozen in terror amidst the carnage. It lets out a final, desperate scream, its face a mask of pure fear. With one last strike, his now blood-soaked sword falls silent, a single drop of goblin blood dripping from its tip. Sangyeon stands alone in the now quiet dungeon, the floor littered with the bodies of the 500 goblins he has slain. The rewards for his efforts immediately appear as system notifications pop up, announcing that he has leveled up twice. He receives the notification he was waiting for. He has acquired the D-tier title, "It's my lucky day." He removes his blindfold, smiling, noting how easy the slaughter felt thanks to his featherweight skill. He checks the title's info. It grants plus 20 luck, with an added effect of 0.1 luck per additional kill of the same monster, up to 10 extra points. Just then, he spots another group of goblins in a nearby passage. He grins, thinking how nice it is to be piling up new titles. One of the new goblins spots him and lets out a war cry, completely unaware of the fate that befell its brethren. A close-up shows the last remaining goblin from the previous horde, frozen in absolute terror. He decides that since he has the title, he might as well max out the bonus stat. He sarcastically thanks the new arrivals for their convenient timing. He flashes a terrifying, predatory grin at the trembling goblin, which can only squeal in fear. After finishing off the new mobs, he checks his player info. He's now level 15, and the title already shows a +3 bonus. He then pulls up his status menu to see the full result. His luck stat has skyrocketed to 50, a massive +30 bonus. He also has 5 new status points to allocate. He begins to tremble, a quiet laugh escaping his lips as he processes the sheer magnitude of his reward. He erupts into a gleeful cackle, eyes turning into one symbols, thrilled at gaining 30 luck points from a single title, calling it a platinum tier bonus. He calculates the bonus is worth at least 1 billion, but as he celebrates, sinister red energy crackles behind him. A system message notes the air is tense, and as the energy grows, Sangyeon thinks he can finally afford to move out of his crappy apartment. He turns to face the source of the disturbance, his body illuminated by the eerie red light. He exclaims in shock, surprised that they have arrived so soon. A bead of nervous sweat drips down his face. His confident smile is replaced by a look of stunned apprehension. The system announces 3 constellations arriving, drawn by his luck spike. The first, Cleaner of a Fallen Dimension, offers to bring misfortune to others instead of raising his own luck. The second, which is interested in his mysterious nature, and the third, the Goddess of Luck, which shows favor towards him, granting her hand in blessing. All 3 constellations makes their mystical entrances out of thin air in front of Sangyeon. He stands there all baffled and shocked, watching their supernatural form appear before him.